My name is Sergeant Marcus Webb, California Highway Patrol, badge number 2347, and I've been patrolling the Mojave Desert highways for 17 years. Before I tell you what happened on March 3rd, 2024, and why I can no longer drive at night the way I used to, I need you to understand something very clearly. If you're planning to drive through the Mojave Desert between Baker and Death Valley, especially on Highway 127 after sunset, what I'm about to tell you could save your life. Before continuing, if you subscribe and like the video, you will be contributing greatly to the continuation of new stories to come. Drop a comment. Are you from California? Have you ever driven through the Mojave at night and felt like the road went on longer than it should? Have you ever looked in your rearview mirror and seen headlights that weren't there a second ago? Let me know in the comments, because I need to know how many of you have experienced what I'm about to describe. There is a 47-mile stretch of Highway 127 between the town of Shoshone and the Nevada border, where something happens after dark. Not every night. Not to everyone. But often enough that those of us who patrol this area know. We just don't talk about it. What I am about to tell you goes against every protocol I've sworn to uphold, violates my non-disclosure agreement with the Department of Homeland Security, and will probably end my career. But after what happened last month, after learning that we lost 6 more people in the same area, I can no longer remain silent. In my 17 years with the CHP, I've responded to hundreds of accidents, pulled countless drunk drivers off these roads, and rescued stranded motorists from temperatures that hit 125 degrees in summer and drop to freezing in winter. I'm trained in high-speed pursuit, accident reconstruction, and desert survival. I pride myself on rational thinking, on following evidence, on trusting what I can verify. Before March 3rd, 2024, I would have laughed at anyone who suggested that reality itself could malfunction like a broken transmission. The Mojave Desert covers over 25,000 square miles of southeastern California, and Highway 127 runs right through some of its most remote stretches. Between Baker and Shoshone, you can drive for 50 miles and see maybe 2 or 3 other vehicles. At night, it's even more isolated. The darkness out here isn't like city darkness or even rural darkness. It's absolute. When there's no moon, when the stars are covered by high clouds, the darkness is so complete it feels like you're driving through ink. Your headlights create a tunnel of visibility that ends abruptly. And beyond that tunnel, nothing exists. That's what it feels like anyway. I always found it peaceful, that emptiness. The silence of the desert at night, broken only by the hum of my Crown Victoria's engine and the occasional crackle of the radio. I'd been patrolling this stretch 5 nights a week for most of my career. I knew every mile marker, every turn, every place where people liked to speed because they thought no one was watching. I knew where the jackrabbits crossed and where the tarantulas migrated in October. I thought I knew this road the way you know the layout of your own home in the dark. I was wrong. On March 3rd, 2024, at approximately 11:47 p.m., I was heading north on Highway 127, about 12 miles south of Shoshone. It was a Tuesday night, and I'd already pulled over one speeding vehicle and responded to a stalled RV near Tacopa. Routine night. The temperature had dropped to 38 degrees, which is normal for early March in the desert. Clear sky, quarter moon, excellent visibility. My shift was supposed to end at 2 a.m., and I was looking forward to going home to my apartment in Baker and getting some sleep. That's when I saw the headlights behind me. Not unusual. Vehicles pass me all the time, even out here, But something about these headlights made me check my rearview mirror twice. They were too bright, almost blinding in the mirror. But when I adjusted it to reduce the glare, the lights seemed to dim proportionally, like they were responding to my movement. I slowed down from 65 to 55, expecting the vehicle to pass me. It didn't. It matched my speed exactly, staying about 200 yards behind me. I could see the two distinct points of light, clearly headlights, but I couldn't make out what kind of vehicle it was. The shape behind the lights was somehow unclear, like looking at something through heat shimmer, except it was 38 degrees, and there was no heat shimmer. I radioed dispatch. "This is 2347. I've got a vehicle following northbound on 127, approximately mile marker 34. Plates not visible. Requesting backup if available." Static. Not the normal static of a weak signal, but a thick, almost textured static that hurt my ears. I adjusted the radio. "Dispatch, do you copy?" More static, and underneath it, something else. A sound like voices talking backwards. I turned the radio off and back on. Nothing. No static, no signal, nothing. My radio was dead. That should have been my first warning. That should have been the moment I pulled over, called for help on my cell phone, and waited for another patrol. But I've had radio failures before. Equipment malfunctions. It happens. So I kept driving, and the headlights kept following, and the desert kept stretching out ahead of me, empty and dark and endless. After about 5 minutes, I realized something was wrong. I should have reached mile marker 35 by now. I'd been driving at 55 miles per hour for at least 5 minutes, which meant I should have covered nearly 5 miles. But when I looked at the mile markers, I was passing mile marker 34. Again. I'd seen that same marker 3 times now. Same slight lean to the left. Same graffiti on the back that said, "Jinx," in faded red spray paint. I know that marker. I've passed it 1,000 times. And I just passed it 3 times in 5 minutes while driving 55 miles per hour north. That's impossible. I slowed down to 40, then 30, watching the mile markers carefully. Mile marker 34. Mile marker 34. Mile marker 34. The same marker, over and over, like a video loop. My speedometer showed I was moving. The engine sounded normal. The white lines on the road moved past me at the proper speed. But I wasn't going anywhere. The headlights behind me maintained their exact distance, 200 yards back, too bright, shape unclear. I looked at my GPS. The screen showed my position as a blinking dot on Highway 127, but the coordinates were wrong. According to the GPS, I was at 35 degree 23 14 north, 116 degree 11 47 west, which would put me approximately 15 miles south of Shoshone, exactly where I should be. But then the coordinates changed, not scrolling north as they should, but flickering. 35 degree 23 14. North became 35 degree 23 upward green south. Then 135 degree 23 14 north. Then coordinates that made no sense at all. 99 degree 99 99 by 99 degree 99 99. The screen went black. My cell phone showed no signal. Not unusual out here, but when I looked at the screen, the clock was wrong. It said 3:33 a.m. Impossible. It had been 11:47 p.m. 5 minutes ago. I looked at my watch. 11:52 p.m. I looked at the dashboard clock. 3:33 a.m. I looked back at my watch. 3:33 a.m. The time on my watch had changed while I was looking away from it. Not panic yet. Not quite. But fear starting to build in my chest. Cold and heavy. Because this wasn't equipment malfunction. This wasn't technology failure. This was something else. Something wrong with reality itself. I've done high-speed chases through desert sandstorms. I've pulled bodies from burning vehicles. I've seen what 120-degree heat does to the human body. I don't panic easily. But my hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I could feel my pulse in my throat, fast and hard. I pressed the accelerator, pushing my Crown Vic up to 75, then 85, then 95 miles per hour. The speedometer needle climbed. The engine roared. The white lines became a blur, and I passed mile marker 34 again, and again, and again. The headlights behind me never changed distance. Still 200 yards back. Still too bright. Still that unclear shape that my eyes couldn't quite focus on. I slammed on the brakes. The Crown Vic skidded to a stop in the middle of the highway, and I sat there, engine running, lights on, heart hammering. The headlights behind me stopped too. Instantly. No gradual deceleration, no brake lights visible, just immediate motionless. We sat there for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Then the headlights started getting closer, not driving closer, just closer. The distance between us shrinking without any sense of movement, like reality was folding, bringing us together without travel. 200 yards, 150 yards, 100 yards. I could see in my side mirror now that there wasn't a vehicle attached to those headlights, just 2 points of light hanging in the air about 4 feet off the ground, getting closer. Not headlights. Something else. Something pretending to be headlights. I floored the accelerator. The Crown Vic shot forward, tires screaming, and I pushed it up to 105 miles per hour. Mile marker 34 flashed past, and past, and past. The lights behind me maintained their distance. Always 200 yards back now, as if that was the proper distance, the required distance, and nothing I did could change it. How do you outrun something when distance itself isn't working properly? How do you escape when the road has become a loop, a closed circle with no exit? I tried to turn around, cranking the wheel hard right, attempting a 180-degree turn at 60 miles per hour. The Crown Vic spun, tires smoking, and I ended up facing south, facing the direction I'd come from. But when I accelerated south, I was still passing mile marker 34, still heading north somehow, even though I was facing south. The compass on my dashboard spun slowly, never settling on any direction. North, east, south, west, north, east, south, west, around and around like a child's toy. My radio crackled, not the static from before, but a voice. Unit 2347, this is dispatch. Do you copy? It was Maria, the night dispatcher I'd known for 11 years. Her voice sounded normal, concerned. I grabbed the radio. Maria, Jesus Christ, I'm stuck on 127. Something's wrong with the road. I keep passing the same mile marker. There are lights following me. Unit 2347, your transmission is breaking up. Please repeat your location. Mile marker 34. I'm at mile marker 34. Unit 2347, you've been at mile marker 34 for 47 minutes. Stay in your vehicle. Help is coming. 47 minutes. I'd thought it had been maybe 10 minutes since this started, but 47 minutes. That would make it 12:34 a.m. now, not 3:33 a.m. like my clock said. But Maria said I'd been at mile marker 34 for 47 minutes, which meant I'd stopped moving, from her perspective, at exactly 11:47 p.m. The moment I'd first noticed the headlights. The radio crackled again. Unit 2347, this is dispatch. You've been at mile marker 34 for 47 minutes. Stay in your vehicle. Help is coming. Maria's voice. Exact same inflection. Exact same words. A recording or a loop. I looked in my rearview mirror. The lights were gone. Just empty darkness behind me. The desert night swallowing everything. I slowed down. Finally. Down to 30 miles per hour. Then 20. Scanning the roadside. That's when I saw it. A car pulled off on the shoulder ahead, hazard lights blinking. Not unusual. Breakdowns happen all the time out here. But something about it felt wrong. I approached slowly, and as my headlights illuminated the vehicle, I recognized it. A 2019 Honda Civic, silver, California plates. I'd seen this car before. I'd seen it last week, abandoned on the same stretch of road. I'd called it in, waited with it for an hour, but no tow truck ever arrived. Dispatch kept saying the tow was 20 minutes away. After 90 minutes, my shift ended, and I had to leave. I checked the next day, and the report said the vehicle had been towed. Owner contacted, case closed. But here it was. Same car, same location, same hazard lights blinking. I pulled up behind it and activated my overhead lights, grabbed my flashlight, got out of my vehicle. The temperature had dropped. My breath formed clouds in the air, visible in my flashlight beam. But something was wrong with the temperature. My thermometer on my belt read 38 degrees, same as before. But I could feel cold, deep cold, the kind of cold that happens at -20, -30. The air hurt to breathe. My fingers were going numb. How do you explain that? How do you write a report that says temperature was simultaneously 38 degrees and below zero? I approached the Honda, flashlight out, following procedure, even though every instinct was screaming at me to get back in my vehicle and drive. The driver's side window was down. I shone my light inside. Empty. No personal belongings, no luggage, no trash. Clean interior, as if the car had just been detailed, keys still in the ignition. I checked the registration in the glove box. Vehicle registered to David Martinez. Address in Los Angeles. I recognized the name. David Martinez had been one of the missing persons cases from last week. 34 years old, software engineer, had been driving to Las Vegas for a bachelor party. Called his fiancée at 11:15 p.m. to say he'd be there in about 90 minutes. Never arrived. His phone pinged off a tower near Shoshone at 11:47 p.m., then went dead. Last known location, Highway 127, mile marker 34. I radioed it in. Dispatch, this is 2347. I've got the Martinez vehicle at mile marker 34. Advise. Static. Then Maria's voice. Unit 2347. You've been at mile marker 34 for 47 minutes. Stay in your vehicle. Help is coming. Same words. Same inflection. A recording playing on loop. I looked back at my Crown Vic. The headlights were on. Overhead lights flashing red and blue. But the lights looked strange. Like they were refracting through water, bending at wrong angles. And behind my vehicle, maybe 50 yards back, I saw them again. The 2 points of light, hanging in the air. Not headlights. Eyes. That's what they looked like. Eyes watching me. I started back toward my vehicle, walking quickly, flashlight aimed at the lights. As I got closer to my Crown Vic, I saw something that made me stop. There was someone sitting in my driver's seat, not moving, just sitting there, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. I couldn't see their face clearly, but something about their posture, their build, looked familiar. I approached slowly, flashlight raised, hand on my service weapon. Step out of the vehicle, now. The figure didn't move. I got closer, saw the CHP uniform, saw the sergeant's stripes, saw badge number 2347, saw my own face, staring straight ahead, expression blank, eyes reflecting my flashlight like an animal's eyes at night. Not me. Couldn't be me. I was standing here, but it looked exactly like me, wearing my uniform, sitting in my vehicle, and when I shone, the flashlight directly at its face, it didn't blink. It didn't react. It just sat there, hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, staring at the road ahead. I reached for the door handle. The moment my hand touched the metal, The figure turned its head and looked at me. Its mouth opened, and it spoke in my voice. Help is coming. Then it smiled. Not a human smile. Too wide. Too many teeth. Teeth that were too white and too sharp and too numerous. The door was locked. I pulled my baton, ready to smash the window, but the figure raised one hand and pressed it against the inside of the glass. Its palm was cold. I could feel the cold radiating through the window, see frost forming around its handprint. Then it pointed, not at me, past me, behind me. I turned. The desert was full of headlights. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, scattered across the landscape in all directions. Some high up, some at ground level, some below ground level, as if vehicles were driving through the earth itself. All motionless, all too bright, all watching. And the silence. Jesus Christ. The silence. No wind, no insects, no distant traffic. Just absolute silence. The kind of silence that presses against your eardrums and makes you hear your own heartbeat. Your own blood moving through your body. Too loud, too present, wrong. I ran. Not back to my vehicle, because something was in my vehicle. Something wearing my face. I ran toward the desert, away from the road, stumbling over rocks and brush, my flashlight beam swinging wildly. Behind me, I heard a sound. Not an engine, not mechanical. A sound like wind chimes, but lower, deeper, resonant, musical, and terrible. I risked a look back. All the headlights were moving now, converging on the road where I'd been standing. Moving without vehicles, just lights gliding through the air, leaving trails like time-lapse photos of stars. And they were moving fast. I dove behind a cluster of rocks and killed my flashlight. Huddled there in the darkness, trying to control my breathing, trying to think. What the hell was happening? Time malfunction, technology failure, reality distortion. This wasn't a criminal matter. This wasn't a traffic incident. This was something else entirely, something that shouldn't exist, but did. I waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then carefully looked around the rocks. The lights were gone. The road was empty. No Crown Vic, no Honda, no lights, just empty highway stretching north and south, barely visible in the starlight. I stood up slowly, every muscle tense, started walking back toward where my vehicle had been. My boots crunched on sand and gravel, too loud in the silence. When I reached the road, there was nothing. No tire tracks, no skid marks, no evidence that any vehicle had been here. I looked at the shoulder, where the Honda had been parked. Nothing, not even disturbed gravel, like it had never existed. But I'd touched it. I'd looked inside. I'd read the registration. This wasn't a hallucination, was it? My hand went to my belt for my radio. Gone. Flashlight, gone. Service weapon, gone. All my equipment vanished. I was standing in the middle of Highway 127 in the Mojave Desert at God knows what time, wearing my CHP uniform but missing all my gear, and I had no vehicle and no way to call for help. I started walking north. What else could I do? Shoshone was maybe 12 miles ahead. I could walk that in 3-4 hours. Flag down a passing car, get help, figure this out. I walked for what felt like an hour, past mile marker 3417 times. Not different markers, the same marker. Same Jinx graffiti on the back. Same slight lean to the left. I was walking in a loop, a closed circle, and no matter how far I went, I wasn't going anywhere. The sun should have been rising by now. I'd started my shift at 10 p.m., seen the headlights at 11:47 p.m. Even if only an hour had passed, it should be past 1 a.m. now. But the sky was still dark. No hint of dawn on the eastern horizon. just stars, cold and distant and wrong. Some of them were moving, slowly, imperceptibly, but moving, tracing patterns in the sky that I almost recognized. Almost, but not quite. Like a language I'd never learned, alphabet I'd never seen, but somehow familiar. I sat down on the shoulder of the road, tried to think clearly, tried to apply logic. But logic required that reality follow certain rules, and those rules had stopped applying. Where was I? Not Shoshone? Not Highway 127. Somewhere that looked like Highway 127, that used the same props and scenery, but wasn't the real place. A copy, a simulation, a trap. But for what purpose? And who or what had created it? That's when I heard the voice, not from any direction, from inside my head, but also outside, surrounding me. Multiple voices harmonizing, speaking in unison, male and female, and neither and both. Officer Webb, you've been driving here for 47 years. It's time to stop. 47 years. Not 47 minutes. 47 years. That was impossible. I was 41 years old. I'd joined the CHP at 24. I'd been patrolling for 17 years. 47 years ago, I wasn't even born. But when I looked down at my hands, they were old, weathered, liver spotted, arthritic. My hands, but aged. I touched my face, felt deep wrinkles, sagging skin. My uniform was faded, worn thin, patched in multiple places. The badge number was still 2347, but the metal was tarnished, corroded. What is this? I said aloud. What the hell is this? The voices answered. The 127 loop. The place where Highway 127 intersects with itself across multiple times. You entered on March 3rd, 2024 at 11:47 p.m. You've been trying to reach mile marker 35 ever since. Time moves differently here. Outside, 47 years have passed. Inside, it feels like hours. Both are true. Neither is true. The loop doesn't care about linear time. I stood up slowly, my body aching in ways it shouldn't. I want out. Everyone wants out. No one gets out. The loop doesn't open from inside. Then how do I get home? You don't. There is no home. There is only the road. Mile marker 34, 47 minutes, 47 years, 147 people, all driving the same stretch, all trying to reach mile marker 35. 147. That number again. I'd seen it before, in a file I wasn't supposed to see, a classified document about Operation Crossroads, the nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll in 1946. But that was about atomic weapons, not desert highways. What was the connection? The voices continued, patient, almost gentle. You want to know what this is? We'll show you. The desert lit up, not with headlights now, but with vehicles. Real vehicles, or their ghosts. I saw them all at once, overlaid on each other, existing simultaneously. A Model T Ford from the 1920s, a military convoy from the 1950s, a VW bus from the 1970s, modern cars, trucks, motorcycles, all driving on Highway 127, all passing mile marker 34, all stuck in the same loop I was stuck in. I saw the drivers. Some looked terrified, some looked resigned, some looked peaceful, almost serene. And I saw myself, dozens of versions of myself, driving my Crown Vic past the same marker over and over, an infinite regression of Marcus Webb's, all trapped in the same moment. This is the 127 loop, the voices said, created in 1953 during Operation Upshot Knothole, when atomic testing at the Nevada test site fractured the fabric of space-time in this region. The explosion occurred on May 25, 1953, at 5:25 a.m. The blast wave created a temporal anomaly that has been pulling in travelers ever since. 147 people entered the loop on that first day. You are number 2,347 overall. Badge number is not coincidence. Badge number is catalog number. I wanted to scream, wanted to deny it, but I'd seen too much. The evidence was overwhelming. This was real. Impossible, but real. The government knows, the voices continued, has always known. They send patrol officers through regularly to monitor. Some get through, some don't. You didn't. You're part of the infrastructure now, part of the road itself. What do you want from me? I asked the darkness. Nothing. Everything. We want you to understand. The loop doesn't trap people. People trap themselves by trying to escape, by insisting that reality work the way they expect it to work. If you accept the loop, if you stop trying to reach mile marker 35, the loop will release you, but you'll be changed. You'll be part of both worlds, inside and outside simultaneously. I thought about that. Thought about having spent 47 years here while only hours passed in my perception. Thought about the version of myself still sitting in my Crown Vic, still staring ahead with that horrible smile. Thought about the 147 others, the 2,347 total, all stuck here because they couldn't accept the impossible. How do I accept? I asked. You stop resisting. You stop running. You let the loop show you what it really is. And then the desert dissolved. Not gradually. Instantly. One moment, I was standing on the shoulder of Highway 127. The next, I was standing in a vast space that had no dimensions, no boundaries, no floor or ceiling or walls. Just infinite gray emptiness filled with threads. Threads of light connecting points in space and time, forming a web so complex and beautiful it hurt to look at. Each thread was a road. Each point was a moment. And I could see them all at once, past and present and future, woven together in a pattern that made perfect sense and no sense. I saw Highway 127 as it had been in 1920, a dirt track used by miners and prospectors. Saw it in 1953, paved, straight, perfect for atomic testing. Saw it in 2024, well-maintained, monitored. Saw it in 2071, crumbling, abandoned. The loop finally closed. I saw myself in all those times. Saw the moment I was born. Saw the moment I joined the CHP. Saw the moment I entered the loop. Saw myself as an old man, still patrolling, still trying to reach mile marker 35. Saw my death, peaceful, in my sleep, in 2027 outside the loop. Saw my non-death inside the loop, where I existed indefinitely, neither alive nor dead, but something else. Time isn't a line, the voices said. Time is a web. Every moment exists simultaneously, connected to every other moment. The loop is just a place where the web becomes visible, where the illusion of linear time breaks down. I understood then, not intellectually, but deeply, in a way that bypassed thought. The loop wasn't a trap. It was a revelation. A place where reality showed its true nature, where the comfortable lie of cause and effect dissolved into something vast and strange and true. I accept, I said. And the gray space vanished. I was standing on Highway 127 again, mile marker 34 visible in my peripheral vision. But everything looked different now. I could see the threads, faint but present, connecting this moment to all other moments. Could see the past and future bleeding through the present like watercolors mixing on wet paper. My Crown Vic was back, parked on the shoulder. No figure in the driver's seat. All my equipment was back on my belt. My hands were my own again, 41 years old, normal. But when I looked at them from the corner of my eye, I saw the old hands too. The 88-year-old hands, existing simultaneously. Both true. Neither true. The loop didn't care. I got in my vehicle, started the engine, put it in drive, pressed the accelerator, and I drove past mile marker 34 and reached mile marker 35 and 36 and 37. The loop had released me, but I wasn't free. Not really. because I could still see the threads, could still see the web of time spreading out in all directions, could still see the versions of myself trapped in the loop, still driving, still trying to escape. They were me. I was them. We existed simultaneously, separated by a choice I'd made, and they hadn't, to accept the impossible instead of fighting it. I made it back to Baker at 2:47 a.m., 3 hours after I'd entered the loop, according to my watch. 3 hours, not 47 years. But I'd lived through both timelines, remembered both, felt both in my bones. I filed a report, told the truth, described everything. They sent me to a psychiatrist, gave me a medical leave, ran tests, found nothing wrong physically, but recommended I take time off to deal with stress. They didn't believe me. Of course they didn't. How could they? But 2 weeks later, I got a visit from a man in a black suit who showed me credentials from the Department of Homeland Security, Anomalous Events Division. We sat in my apartment in Baker, and he told me the truth. They've known about the 127 loop since 1953. It was an unintended consequence of atomic testing, a tear in space-time that self-perpetuates. They can't close it, can't fix it, can only monitor it and try to minimize casualties. They lose about 5 people per year to the loop, send patrol officers through regularly, hoping they'll make it. Most do. Some don't. I asked him why they don't just close the road, reroute traffic, prevent people from entering. He smiled, sad and tired, said they've tried. Every time they close Highway 127, the loop moves to another road. Highway 95, Interstate 15, even city streets in Baker itself. The loop needs travelers, needs people to feed on, not in a malicious way, but in a natural way, like a tide pool needs water. If they starve it, it expands. So they leave Highway 127 open, accept the losses, and try to manage the situation. He offered me a job, said I was one of the few people to escape the loop once fully inside, said my ability to see the threads, to perceive the web of time, made me valuable. I could help them monitor, predict, maybe even rescue others. I accepted. What else was I going to do? Go back to regular patrol? Pretend I didn't know what I knew? So now I drive Highway 127 5 nights a week between Baker and Shoshone, watching for the signs, watching for drivers who pass the same mile marker too many times, watching for headlights that are too bright, shapes that are too unclear, watching for the threads starting to pull someone in. Sometimes I can warn them. Get on the radio, tell them to pull over, wait with them until the danger passes. The loop is cyclical. It pulls most strongly between 11:47 p.m. and 3:33 a.m., particularly on nights when the temperature is exactly 38 degrees and the sky is clear with a quarter moon. If you can avoid driving through that stretch during those windows, you're probably safe. Probably. But not everyone listens. Not everyone can be saved. Last month, 6 people entered the loop. I was monitoring, saw them on my instruments, tried to intervene. But I was too late. The loop pulled them in, and now they're part of the infrastructure, part of the 353 total. Still driving past mile marker 34, still trying to reach mile marker 35, still believing that the next time will be different. I dream about them sometimes. Dream. I'm back in the loop myself, trapped again, driving endlessly. Wake up sweating, disoriented, until I look at my hands and see the threads connecting them to all the other versions of my hands across time. Then I know I'm outside, for now. The thing is, once you've been in the loop, you're never fully out. Part of you stays there, trapped in that moment, that space between mile markers 34 and 35. Part of you is always driving, always watching those headlights in your rearview mirror, always feeling that cold that's simultaneously 38 degrees and minus 40. I can feel that part of me right now as I tell you this. Can feel myself sitting in my Crown Vic, passing mile marker 34 for the 18,947th time, watching the odometer roll forward while the GPS shows I'm not moving. Both versions of me are real. Both exist. The only difference is that this version accepted the loop, and that version is still fighting it. If you drive Highway 127 at night, you might see me. Might pass a CHP vehicle pulled over at mile marker 34, overhead lights flashing, officer sitting inside staring straight ahead. That's me. Or one version of me. Wave if you want. I won't wave back. I can't. I'm stuck in the moment, part of the infrastructure, marking the boundary of the loop for anyone who knows how to recognize it. I talked to Joseph Manriquez about a year after my escape. Joseph is Kemehuevi, one of the indigenous peoples who've lived in the Mojave for thousands of years. His grandfather told him stories about the road that eats travelers, tales that go back centuries, long before Highway 127 existed, before cars existed. The Kemehuevi knew about the loop, called it by different names in different eras, but always knew it was there. A thin place, they called it. A spot where the world's skin is stretched too tight, where the barrier between what is and what could be becomes permeable. They marked it with stones in a specific pattern, warned travelers to avoid it, made offerings to keep it satisfied. Then white settlers came and paved it over, put up mile markers, called it progress. The stones are still there if you know where to look, buried under the asphalt at mile marker 34. The pattern they form is significant. Joseph showed me aerial photos. The stones create a spiral, and at the center of the spiral is the exact point where the loop is strongest, where the probability of being pulled in approaches 100%. The atomic tests didn't create the loop. They just made it worse, amplified something that was already there, turned a natural anomaly into a disaster. The Kemehuevi tried to warn the government in 1953, sent elders to speak with the Atomic Energy Commission, explained about the thin place, begged them not to detonate weapons so close to it. They were dismissed as superstitious, their warnings filed away and forgotten. 147 people entered the loop on the day of the first test. The shock wave hit at 5:25 a.m., and by 5:26 a.m., every vehicle within a 12-mile radius of mile marker 34 was caught in a temporal loop that hasn't stopped spiraling 71 years later. Joseph's grandfather was one of those 147. His truck was found at mile marker 34, engine running, door open, no sign of the driver. They searched for 3 days, found nothing. But Joseph says his grandfather came back in a way. Says he sees him sometimes, driving that old truck on Highway 127 late at night, always heading north, never arriving anywhere. Says his grandfather looks peaceful. Says he's accepted the loop, learned to exist in both states simultaneously, and now serves as a guide for others who get trapped. I asked Joseph how to break the loop permanently, how to free everyone trapped inside. He said you can't. Once something becomes part of the web of time, it's permanent. The loop will exist until time itself ends, until the last moment of the last day, and everyone trapped inside will continue to exist in that eternal present, driving and driving and driving. The only mercy is acceptance. The only escape is surrender. He gave me something. A small leather pouch filled with white sage and other herbs I didn't recognize. Said to burn it at mile marker 34 once a month, at 11:47 p.m. exactly. Said it won't close the loop. but it will ease the suffering of those trapped inside, give them moments of clarity where they can rest, can stop driving for a while, can remember who they were before they became part of the infrastructure. I do it now. First of every month, I park at mile marker 34 at 11:47 p.m. Burn the sage, sit in the smoke, and feel the presence of the 2353, all the versions of myself included, existing in their eternal moment. Sometimes I see them clearly. Sometimes they see me. We acknowledge each other across the boundary of time, and for a moment, the loop loosens its grip. They rest. I rest. We remember what it's like to be fully real, fully present, fully human. Then the moment passes, the smoke clears, and we go back to our respective existences. Me in the linear world, them in the loop, both of us changed forever by what happened at 11:47 p.m. on different nights, different years, different versions of the same moment. The government doesn't like me doing this, says it's unauthorized ritual behavior, says it could destabilize the anomaly, says I'm putting myself at risk, but they don't stop me. Maybe because it works. Maybe because the casualty rate has dropped since I started. Maybe because they understand, on some level, that the loop needs to be honored, not just managed. That the 2353 deserves some form of peace, even if they can never be freed. I've recruited others now. 3 other CHP officers who escaped the loop, who can see the threads like I can, who understand what they're dealing with. We take shifts monitoring Highway 127, rotating so that someone is always watching during the danger window. We've saved 14 people in the past year, pulled them over before they reached mile marker 34, escorted them to safety, explained what they almost drove into. Some believe us. Some think we're crazy. We don't care either way. We just keep watching, keep warning, keep burning sage on the first of every month. One of the other officers, Sarah Chen, was trapped for what felt like 3 days inside the loop before she escaped. She says she met some of the other 2353 during her time inside. Says they formed a kind of community, a society of the trapped, helping each other endure. Says there are rules inside the loop, hierarchies, territories based on which stretch of mile marker 34 you're circling. Says the ones who've been there longest, the ones from 1953, have changed the most. They're not entirely human anymore. They've become something else, something adapted to existence outside linear time. She says they can move through the threads intentionally now, can visit any moment along Highway 127's timeline, past or future. They watch over the road, trying to warn travelers, trying to prevent others from sharing their fate. But they can't leave. They're bound to the loop, part of its structure. And if the loop ever closes, they'll cease to exist entirely. So they persist, driving and watching and warning, forever circling mile marker 34, forever reaching for mile marker 35, forever existing in the space between. Sarah says she envies them sometimes, says their existence might be limited, but it's also expanded. They experience time differently, see patterns we can't see, understand truths we can't grasp. They've transcended the human condition in some ways, even as they've lost their humanity in others. I don't know if I agree. I don't know if transcendence is worth the price they've paid. But I think about it, late at night when I'm driving my patrol route, passing mile marker 34 safely in the linear world while feeling my other self still trapped in the loop. Is one existence better than the other? Is being fully present in one limited moment superior to being partially present in all moments? The loop doesn't answer these questions. It just exists, uncaring, eternal, offering a choice to everyone who enters: fight and suffer, or accept and transform. I've seen what fighting looks like, seen drivers trapped in the loop, panicking, trying to break free through force of will. They age rapidly, their bodies breaking down as subjective time accelerates. Seen 30-year-olds become 80-year-olds in hours, screaming and pounding on their steering wheels, insisting that reality obey the rules they grew up with. They never escape. They just burn out, use up their life energy fighting the impossible, and become part of the loop's landscape. Ghosts of vehicles scattered across the desert, permanently stuck, drivers slumped over steering wheels, aged to death, still technically alive in the eternal present, but no longer conscious, no longer fighting. And I've seen acceptance, seen drivers who stop resisting, who let the loop show them the web of time, who open themselves to the impossible. They change, yes. They're marked forever, but they escape. They return to the linear world carrying knowledge that most humans never access, seeing reality's true nature, understanding that time and space and causality are far stranger than anyone admits. They're never the same, can never be the same, but they're free, more or less, as free as anyone can be once they've seen behind the curtain. I carry a journal now, a green leather journal that I found in the glove box of my Crown Vic the day after I escaped the loop. It wasn't there before. I've checked my records, my maintenance logs, no journal. But there it was. And when I opened it, I found entries in my own handwriting describing incidents at mile marker 34 going back to 1987. Entries I never wrote. Dates before I joined the CHP, before I was born. But my handwriting, my badge number, my perspective. The journal is evidence, physical proof that the loop is real, that time doesn't work the way we think it does. I've shown it to the DHS Anomalous Events Division. They have dozens of similar journals, all found by officers who've escaped the loop, all containing entries from impossible dates. They don't know what it means. They suspect the journals are being written by future versions of us, or alternate versions, or loop versions, reaching across time to document what's happening. Or maybe the journals write themselves, manifestations of the loop's nature, records maintained by the anomaly itself. I add my own entries now. Write down every incident, every near miss, every person who enters and doesn't come back. The entries sometimes appear before I write them. I'll open the journal to record something that happened last night, and the entry is already there in my handwriting, with details I haven't written yet. But by the end of the entry, the words match what I intended to write. Like the journal is synchronizing with my thoughts, or like my thoughts are being pulled from the journal, cause and effect breaking down again. Which came first, the intention to write or the written words? The loop doesn't care about these questions. Neither does the journal. Some entries aren't mine. They're written in other handwriting, from other officers, describing the same incidents from different perspectives. Sarah Chen's handwriting appears sometimes. Sometimes handwriting I don't recognize, from officers I've never met, badge numbers that don't exist in our timeline. The journal is a collaborative document across multiple realities, a shared record maintained by everyone who's ever been touched by the loop. Page 147 is always blank. I've tried to write on it. The ink disappears. Whatever is supposed to be recorded on page 147 hasn't happened yet, or is happening in a timeline I'm not part of, or can only be written by someone specific. Maybe by badge number 147, if that person exists. Maybe by the 147th victim of the loop. Maybe by someone from 1953, from the original 147 who entered when the atomic test began. The journal currently has 353 pages, one for each person the loop has taken. It adds a page whenever someone new enters. I've watched it happen, seen a blank page appear spontaneously, already filled with handwriting describing an incident that's happening at that moment 12 miles away. The journal knows. The loop knows. They're connected, part of the same system, the same anomaly. Joseph Manriquez says the Mojave have their own version of the journal, oral rather than written, stories passed down through generations about the thin place and those it's taken. He says the stories go back 3,000 years. Says the loop is much older than 1953, older than Highway 127, older than America itself. The atomic test just made it visible to modern technology, gave it a shape that GPS and radio and cameras could detect. Before that, it existed in a purely metaphysical state, affecting consciousness rather than physics. Shamans would enter the thin place deliberately, seeking visions, seeking knowledge. Most came back changed. Some didn't come back at all. They became the first members of what Sarah Chen calls the loop community, the Society of the Trapped. The Mojave honored them, left offerings at the Spiral of Stones, sang songs to help them endure their existence outside time. Then the spiral was buried under asphalt. The songs were forgotten. The offerings stopped. The loop community grew lonely, desperate for connection. That's when they started appearing as headlights, Joseph says, mimicking the vehicles of the modern world, trying to communicate in the only language available. The headlights aren't malicious. They're not trying to trap people. They're trying to connect, trying to find others who can perceive the web of time, trying to recruit guides who can help maintain the boundary between linear time and the loop. I'm one of those guides now. Whether I wanted to be or not, the loop chose me the moment I entered it at 11:47 p.m. on March 3, 2024. My badge number, 2347, wasn't assigned randomly. It was assigned by someone in the DHS Anomalous Events Division who knew I would eventually encounter the loop, who knew I would be the 2,147th person taken. They track it that carefully. Monitor every person who drives Highway 127, analyzing probability fields, predicting who will enter and when. It's not perfect. They can't prevent the loop from taking people. But they can identify candidates for guide work, people who have the psychological and metaphysical resilience to escape and then return. People who can exist in both worlds simultaneously without losing themselves entirely. I've asked them how they choose. They say they don't. The loop chooses. It reaches across time and identifies people, marks them years before they enter. My badge number was the loop's mark, claiming me, designating my role in the infrastructure long before I understood what was happening. This terrifies me. The idea that my entire career, my entire life possibly, was predetermined by an anomaly in space-time. That I've never had free will. That every choice I made was leading me inevitably to mile marker 34 at 11:47 p.m. But Joseph Manriquez says this is wrong thinking. Says the loop doesn't override free will. It operates outside causality, so past and future don't work the way I think they do. My choice to accept the loop happened before I entered it and after I escaped it simultaneously. The loop knew I would choose acceptance because I already had chosen it from its perspective. Time is a web, not a line. I've stopped trying to understand it logically. Logic requires linear time, requires cause before effect, requires that the future doesn't influence the past. But I've seen too much now. I've driven the loop. I've watched myself from outside myself. I've read my journal entries from years before I was born. Logic doesn't apply. I operate on different principles now. Intuition, synchronicity, recognition of patterns across time. I can feel when someone is about to enter the loop. A coldness in my chest, a pressure behind my eyes, a taste like copper in my mouth. I'll be driving my regular patrol route, and suddenly I'll know. Someone is approaching mile marker 34. Someone is about to be taken. I radio ahead, try to intercept them, try to warn them. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Last week I felt it at 11:43 p.m. Strong signal, very close. I was at mile marker 31, drove 90 miles per hour to reach marker 34 before 11:47 p.m. Got there at 11:46 p.m. Saw a vehicle approaching from the south, a pickup truck, Nevada plates, driver alone. I pulled out into the road, blocked both lanes, activated all my lights. The truck stopped. Driver rolled down his window, looked annoyed. "What's the problem, officer?" I walked to his window, chose my words carefully. "Sir, I need you to turn around. Roads closed ahead. Hazardous conditions." "I don't see any hazard signs." "It's a recent closure. I'm turning around all traffic." He looked past me at the empty road. Mile marker 34 visible in the distance. "Road looks fine to me." Then his clock hit 11:47 p.m. I saw it through his windshield. Watched the digital display change from 11:46 to 11:47. Felt the cold in my chest intensify. Looked in my side mirror and saw them. The headlights, appearing out of nowhere, hanging in the air 200 yards behind my Crown Vic. "Sir, you need to turn around right now." But he was looking past me, seeing them too. The headlights reflected in his eyes, too bright, hypnotic. "What are those?" "Sir, turn your vehicle around and drive south. Do it now." He didn't move. The headlights were getting closer, not moving, just closer. Reality folding, distance becoming meaningless. I reached through his window, grabbed his shoulder. "Listen to me. You're about to enter a temporal anomaly. If you don't turn around in the next 30 seconds, you'll be trapped there for 47 years subjective time. Your family will report you missing. Searchers will find your truck at mile marker 34 with no sign of you. You'll be one more statistic. Do you understand?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and saw something in my face that convinced him. Fear, maybe, recognition, truth. He nodded, put his truck in reverse, backed up 50 yards, then carefully turned around on the narrow highway. Drove south without looking back. The headlights stopped approaching, held their position for another 30 seconds, then faded. The cold in my chest eased. My clock showed 11:48 p.m. The danger window had passed. I'd saved him, but barely. I filed a report, described the incident, the intervention, the save, got a commendation from the DHS Anomalous Events Division. Badge number 2348 will likely be assigned to someone who isn't so lucky, who enters the loop despite all our monitoring and warning systems. The sequence continues. The infrastructure grows. Every person taken becomes a permanent part of the loop, a new thread in the web, a new marker of the anomaly's extent. Sarah Chen thinks the loop is growing. Says when she was trapped, she could sense its boundaries, its limits. Says those boundaries are expanding slowly, incrementally, pulling in more road, more space, more time. If it continues, Highway 127 will eventually be entirely within the loop, and then it will spread to neighboring roads. Highway 178, Highway 190, Interstate 15, All the roads in the Mojave will become thin places, traps, eternal loops. The DHS Anomalous Events Division denies this. Says the loop is stable, contained, manageable, but they're lying. I can see the expansion myself, can measure it with instruments that detect temporal distortion. Mile marker 33 is starting to show anomalies. People driving past it report strange experiences, time dilation, technology failure, headlights that follow them, minor effects, nothing like the full loop, but growing stronger every year. By 2030, mile marker 33 will be fully inside the loop. By 2040, mile marker 32. The expansion is slow, but inexorable. Eventually, the entire Mojave Desert will be a thin place, and Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Phoenix, all the cities on the desert's edge, will border a region where time doesn't work properly, where reality itself is negotiable, where the web becomes visible to anyone who looks. I don't know what happens then. Neither does anyone else. Maybe humanity adapts, learns to live with the anomaly, incorporates it into our understanding of physics. Maybe the loop stabilizes once it reaches a certain size. Maybe it consumes everything, spreads across the entire planet, turns Earth into a single vast eternal present where all moments exist simultaneously. The loop doesn't care about these possibilities. It just grows, slowly, patiently, following whatever principles govern its existence. And I'll be here, monitoring, warning, guiding. Badge number 2347. Existing partially inside the loop and partially outside, marked permanently by my choice to accept rather than fight. Some nights, I dream I'm still driving past mile marker 34, still trapped, still circling, endlessly. I wake up in my apartment in Baker and immediately check my hands, looking for the threads, needing confirmation that I'm outside. The threads are always there, faint but visible, connecting me to all versions of myself across time. I'm both inside and outside, both trapped and free, both 41 years old and 88 years old, both alive and transformed. The loop doesn't resolve contradictions. It embraces them, contains them, makes them real. If you drive Highway 127 at night, particularly between 11:47 p.m. and 3:33 a.m., particularly when the temperature is 38 degrees and the sky is clear with a quarter moon, be careful. Watch your mile markers. If you pass the same one twice, turn around immediately. Don't investigate. Don't try to document it. Don't think you can beat it with reason or technology or willpower. The loop is older than you, smarter than you, more patient than you. It's been waiting for billions of years in its own timeline. It can wait for you. And if you do enter, if you find yourself trapped at mile marker 34, trying to reach mile marker 35, unable to make progress no matter how fast you drive or how far you go, remember, fighting makes it worse. Panic accelerates your aging. Resistance burns you out. The only escape is acceptance. Stop trying to impose your will on reality. Let reality show you its true nature. Look for the threads. See the web. Understand that time isn't a line, but a vast interconnected system where every moment touches every other moment. Accept that you're part of the infrastructure now, part of the loop's community. Accept that you'll be changed, marked, permanently affected by this experience. Then, and only then, the loop might release you. Not everyone it releases. I was lucky, or chosen, or both. But some do escape, and they all report the same process. Stop fighting. Accept the impossible. Let go of linear thinking. The loop respects surrender, rewards it, transforms those who surrender into something new, something capable of existing in both worlds. I'm still on patrol, still driving Highway 127 5 nights a week, Still burning sage at mile marker 34 on the first of every month. Still maintaining my journal, adding entries that sometimes appear before I write them. Still feeling the cold in my chest when someone is about to enter the loop. Still racing to intercept them. Still saving some and losing others. This is my life now. My duty. My choice. Made 47 years ago and 3 months ago. And right now. All simultaneously. Badge number 2347, California Highway Patrol, existing at the intersection of time, guardian of the 127 loop, guide for those who enter and warning for those who approach. The road goes on. Mile marker 34 waits. The headlights watch from the desert darkness, patient and eternal. And I drive between the worlds, neither fully inside nor fully outside, forever changed by what I saw, what I accepted, what I became. Time isn't a line, it's a web. And once you've seen the web, you can never unsee it. You can never go back to believing that reality is simple, that cause precedes effect, that the past is fixed and the future is unknown. The loop teaches you that all moments exist simultaneously, that you exist in all those moments at once, that your choices ripple forward and backward through time, affecting everything, changing everything, creating new threads in the web with every decision. I chose to accept. That choice saved me. But it also trapped me in a different way, bound me to the loop forever, made me its servant and guardian and interpreter. I'm 41 years old. I'm 88 years old. I'm every age in between. I'm driving past mile marker 34 right now, both in the linear world and in the loop, both escaping and trapped, both warning you and experiencing the thing I'm warning you about. Welcome to Highway 127. Drive carefully. Watch your mile markers. And if you see a CHP vehicle pulled over at marker 34, overhead lights flashing, officer sitting motionless inside, don't stop to help. Just keep driving. Get past mile marker 35 as quickly as you can. Because that officer isn't me. Or it is me, but a version of me that didn't escape. A version still trapped in the eternal present, marking the boundary, warning travelers without words. Let him do his job. Let me do mine. And please, for your own sake, don't drive Highway 127 at night. The loop is patient. The loop is waiting. The loop remembers everyone who enters, and it never forgets.